Next, we're going to solve some application problems, the solutions to which involve quadratic equations. So you may recall here our blueprint for problem solving. It's our nice 6-step process for solving application or word problems. We're going to apply this blueprint for problem solving to the problems in this section, but we're going to do it in kind of an abbreviated form. Let's look at our first problem. The product of two consecutive even integers is 80. Find the two integers. Okay, so we want to start by saying let x equal the first integer of these two consecutive integers. Then, since they're consecutive even integers, x plus 2 is the next consecutive one. So x plus 2 is the next one. Now, their product is 80. So here's the first integer, here's the second integer, and their product is 80. Well, their product is what I get when I multiply them. X times x plus 2 is equal to 80. So as far as setting up the equation, what we do is we let x equal the first integer, then we write the next integer in terms of x, then we reread the problem and find out that the product of these two consecutive even integers is 80. So we write an equation that describes that situation. The rest of this now is simply solving that equation, which we'll do next. I'll multiply this out, and I have x squared plus 2x. When I multiply x times x is x squared, x times 2 is 2x. Then I'm going to add negative 80 to both sides. Minus 80 equals 0. So I know from multiplying out here that I'm getting a quadratic equation. I want to put it in standard form, so I also add negative 80 to both sides. Now, I'll factor. So I have x and x for the first two terms. I want to multiply and get 80 and add and get 2. So how about positive 10 and negative 8? Positive 10x minus 8x, that gives me positive 2x, and positive 10 times negative 8 is negative 80. So x is equal to negative 10, or x is equal to 8. When I set this factor equal to 0, I get x equal negative 10. When I set this factor equal to 0, I get x equal 8. Now, x equal negative 10 and x equal 8 are not the answers to this problem. The problem asks for two consecutive even integers. X is the first of the even integers. X plus 2 will be the second one. So if my first integer is negative 10, then the next consecutive integer after that is going to be negative 8, the number that I get when I add 2 to negative 10. If my first consecutive integer is 8, then the next consecutive even integer after that is going to be 10. So I get two pair of numbers that satisfy this equation. Negative 8 and negative 10 is a pair of consecutive integers whose product is 80, and positive 8 and positive 10 is another pair of consecutive integers whose product is 80. Let's look at the next problem. One number is 2 more than 5 times another. Their product is 24. Find the numbers. So we can say, in this case, let's let x equal the first number, then the second number, well, let's see, one number is 2 more than 5 times another. So we'll let x be the first one. The second number then is 2 more than 5 times the first one. So 5 times the first one is 5x. 2 more than that is plus 2. So here's my one number, x. My other number is 5x plus 2. Their product is 24. So that is x times 5x plus 2 is equal to 24. Now, this is the equation that describes the situation. I'll multiply this side out. 5x squared plus 2x. Add negative 24 to both sides. And I'll have a quadratic equation in standard form. Let's see now if we can factor this. So I'll have 5x and x. And then let's see, 24 is going to be 6 times 4, 2 times 12. How about if I put 12 here and 2 here, because then I'll have 12x inside, 10x outside. They'll differ by 2x. So I want my 12x positive, so I'll make that positive. 10x negative, so I'll make that negative. Now, did that work? 5x times x is 5x squared. Positive 12 times negative 2, negative 24. Inside is 12x, outside is negative 10x. They add up to 2x. Now, if I set 5x plus 12 equal to 0, let's see, let me do that over here. 5x plus 12 is equal to 0, or x minus 2 is equal to 0. Well, if 5x plus 12 is 0, x is negative 12 divided by 5 when I add negative 12 to both sides and then divide by 5. Over here, I'll add 2 to both sides, and I'll get x is equal to 2. So the first number is either negative 12/5 or it's equal to 2. To get my second number, I have to multiply the first number by 5 and then add 2. So if I multiply 5 times negative 12/5, I get negative 12 plus 2 is negative 10. If I multiply 2 times 5, I get 10 plus 2 is 12. So my two numbers are negative 12/5 and negative 10, and 2 and 12. And let me just check that on my sheet here. 2 and 12, yes, and negative 12/5 and negative 10, that's right. So these are my two pair of solutions. So remember, when you're solving a word problem like this, I let x equal one of the items that's asked for in the problem. Then I get an equation in x that describes the situation. I solve that equation, and I'll get a solution x equals something. That isn't necessarily the end of the problem. You have to go back and see what the problem asked for in the meantime. In this case, we're asked for two numbers. One is x, the other is 5x plus 2. So my equation gives me x, and then I have to go find the 5x plus 2 part myself.